Comes with the promise of bringing you the fastest internet speeds possible and new jobs.
A massive transoceanic cable spanning from Europe to Virginia Beach. City leaders hope it is the first of many to come.
Our Stephen Graves explains how it all works and how you benefit.
I'm told it's one of the largest laid to date and already operational. Usually these subsea cables go to coastal areas like New Jersey or southern Florida. So why not Virginia Beach? We spoke to one of the first companies to move here because of the cable, and city leaders hope others will follow.
Yeah, so this will remain the reception.
Greg Twitt sees this empty office space in Virginia Beach.
And here, this is additional data center hall.
As the site for the next major force in the data collecting industry.
No one stepped up to the plate, so here we are.
We is his company Global Links. In the next 5 months, phase 1 in this building will start. Huge servers and batteries will fill the site, which is thousands of square feet, harnessing 30 megawatts of power.
Which is probably enough to light a city of about 20,000 people.
Twitt never thought to bring his company here until this.
This is the fastest cable that's ever been laid in the world to date.
It's called Marea, Spanish for the word tide. A large transoceanic cable connecting Virginia Beach to Bilbao, Spain's internet traffic. It comes from a landing site in Europe. A ship carefully places the cable along the ocean floor. Inside are small fibers carrying up to 160 terabytes of data.
Which really boiled down to about one piece of your hair.
The cable comes up to a manhole on Croatan in Virginia Beach, connecting to a landing site further inland here in Corporate Landing. From there it goes to data centers like Global Links. The goal is to ultimately connect to Ashburn, Virginia. That's the largest data hub, and sort of think of that as the cloud.
What was missing is the connectivity.
With that, Warren Harris, director of the city's economic development, says more business will come.
What we hope to see are companies that are involved in financial transactions. All of those types of companies are going to want to co-locate in our market.
This ring on the south side is going to allow all of our south side cities to get access.
City leaders also hope to harness its power to create a regional data ring for faster internet speeds in your home.
As a consumer, I don't necessarily now have to use Cox. Maybe I can use Verizon. Maybe I can use CenturyLink.
Creating more competition in this region is going to drive prices down, drive speeds up.
Ben Davenport, a Virginia Beach city councilman, sits on a panel with other cities to figure out how to connect South Side cities with this ring.
That's the main goal, is to make sure that we have access to the subsea cables through that internet ring, so that anybody who's on that ring they're tied to that traffic.
While that's in the future, Marea is operating right now. Facebook and Microsoft occupy this building in Corporate Landing, possibly getting to welcome another cable, this one from South America, harnessing international data to put Hampton Roads on the map and give businesses a foundation for the future. Stephen Graves, 13 News Now.
Virginia Beach is about to land a third high-speed subsea cable like the one you just learned about. This one is coming from South Africa. The cable will be the only system to connect South Africa directly to the U.S. ACA International partnered with South Atlantic Express International to bring the cable here. City leaders say the added cable will help provide cost-effective, high-speed internet to both our area and South Africa.